Brendan, to start with some team news. Callum McGregor back out for today. Just how was he for the weekend's match?
Yeah, we'll do one final run with Callum tomorrow in our last session. But yeah, he's done remarkable to be back. He's way ahead of schedule. From what we thought, but it just shows you his professionalism and how hard he's worked. So yeah, he'll be involved in the squad, and if he is, then it's great news for us in every capacity, because we've got a clean bill of health really for probably the first time this season. So, but we'll make a final call on that tomorrow.
I see one of those players where if it's 70-80% fit, do you still start him just because of who he is and what he's been and what he's done?
Yes, certainly he's the type of player that can probably get by at 80%. That's for sure. He has that level, he has that quality. But of course, you also have to think about there is remaining games throughout the season. So it's just about being logical and finding out where he's at with all these tests, the measurements. He's been in the training, so clearly his quality is there. So, but we just have to gauge whether he starts, whether he comes into the game, or what involvement he has.
How do you assess the magnitude of the fixture that lies ahead on Sunday?
They're always big games, and that's what I've relished and loved. Whether it's Celtic Rangers, Rangers v Celtic, they're always fantastic games. But I've always seen this game as the storyline for me is always about opportunity. You know, I go back to the first game, whenever we went there. It wasn't just a real good lesson in football, but I think in life. Because in that first game, individually, collectively, and as a club, we were wrote off arriving into Ibrox, and it feels the narrative is pretty much the same, even though the form is both teams are 4 wins and a loss out of the last 5 games. So for me, it's the opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to go there, like what we've done earlier in the season, like what we've done on numbers of occasions, show that we have that mentality and that mental strength to get through any periods in the game that are difficult moments for us, but then can come through in the end, and that'll be our focus for the weekend.
Is there more pressure on Rangers in this one?
No, I don't see it. I think, listen, when you're always the home team, you're looking to win these games. I can only speak from our own side. It's a game we want to win, but we don't need to win it. You know, we want to win it, of course, but we want to get a positive result, and we know we can do that by playing to the level in the game that we'll set out to play, which is, you know, fast, dynamic game, and but I'm sure it'll be a really, really good game of football.
If there is a winner on Sunday, how big could that be for whatever side in terms of momentum when there is so few games left?
Well, there'll still be 6 games for us, so it's still a lot of games. It might not seem a lot of games, but it's a lot of game in a football context, because so much can still change in those 6 games. But my focus is purely on getting a positive result, and then you always assess it afterwards.
I suppose however much hangs on this game, there is still another fixture between the two to go this season as well.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm saying. There's always, you can always look for a little story around the corner which might feel that it changes the dynamics, but it's just logical. It's one game at a time. You know, this is an important game for both teams, and both teams, I'm sure, will go into it with that mindset. For us, our mindset is to go and do what we did earlier on the season, which is to win.
Can I ask you about the choice of referee for the game? I know you weren't happy with the officiating in the game against Hearts. You've mentioned John Beaton and his part in it. He's obviously the referee for this game. Are you surprised that he's been selected for this game just based on what's happened over the last month or so?
Listen, I think for me, for John to be given the game, I think that these games are for the top referees, and I've always said that John Beaton's one of the top referees in the country. So he's been allocated the game. I'm comfortable with that. He's refereed games that have been there before. So my point, like I said before, was for that one game. I'm not talking about John Beaton's career as a referee. My gripe was on that day. So they will feel that they have to appoint someone who's experienced and and John is one of the top experienced referees in the country.
There's obviously been a lot of talk surrounding him over the past month. Maybe does that add more pressure on his performance? Do you feel there are more eyes on his performance because of that over the last month or so?
Don't know. Not interested. Only interested in Celtic.
Do you think it's too much is made of referees' appointments and whatnot leading into this sort of derby?
I just think it's the modern game. I think if you switch on Sky and they'll have programmes about referees. So I just think naturally there's a focus now on officials. And naturally there will be that because the game is so scrutinised now. And obviously if you're on the field and you're performing, your performance will always be looked at. Like it will be if you're sat in VAR as well, or it should be. Because that's what they get paid for. They'll get a salary in their bank for that, and it's not for nothing. They're accountable for decision making in the game. So, but I just think it's the natural part of the game now. Whether it's players, whether it's officials, then there's a real scrutiny on them.
You've a very good record in this specific fixture. Just in terms of going to Ibrox, what's the secrets? What has to go right for your players? What's your message to those players when you go out to ensure you get the result you want?
I think it starts with the whole build-up. I think it's not to get entrenched with the whole storyline, because at times the storyline can be a disaster. But for me, the storyline is always opportunity, and you arrive and you stay calm, and you just look to focus on your performance, and that's always been the case. These are emotion-charged games. One of the greatest iconic games in world football, but you got to perform, and you can only do that by staying calm and looking to play your football. So that's always been the approach.
Obviously every derby's big, especially between Rangers and Celtic, but does this one feel a little bit bigger from your perspective, given the two teams are so closely matched, how close we are to the end of the season?
Not really. Doesn't feel any bigger than the other ones. They're just always big games, and the focus is on performing.
In terms of team news, anybody else in or out apart from Callum potentially?
No, we get everyone available. Lewis Palmer back in training, which is great. Like I say, apart from Callum, and hopefully he gets the tick off tomorrow and we're in a clean bill of health.
Does it feel like the squad's in the best shape it's been all season in terms of this period?
Aye, 100%. Just having the authority back on the pitch. You've seen it last week at Livingston. When we're at our best and the strength of us is not giving so much away, whilst creating that great platform, because no matter how good you are attacking wise, it's all about consistency and how you defend. So we're at our best when we're super organised, tight, and then everything's connected both with and without the ball. And that for me is then when we're at our best, and it'll be the same on Sunday. We're very attack minded, very front foot, but attack minded when we're defending. And when we do that, then we can play very, very well.
You mentioned the September game, Brendan. You went there and you feel as if maybe the narrative's still the same, but you're going there in a very different sort of condition in terms of a squad, aren't you? It's the reality is you're going there much stronger than you were back then.
Yeah, much stronger. I think I'm just piecing together, looking at what the team might be and what the bench might be. We're going to have probably a bench that can really affect the game if it's needed. That power and pace and quality. So we have a lot of tools that maybe we hadn't available earlier on in the season, but still the mindset is always important in these games, but we go with a really positive mind.
Do you get the impression, Brendan, that the team has been written off again ahead of this game?
Yeah, I think it's been the narrative most of the season. That's been the storyline really, whether it's warranted or not. But yeah, I think coming into this game, I think it's pretty much the same sort of feeling.
Would you use that as motivation when speaking to the players? Would you mention that?
Not really. I think it's just our feeling is we're very comfortable within ourselves in our preparation. We've had a really, really good week. Managed the loading of the players, got players back in, able to do our tactical work. Of course, at this time of the season, and especially leading into big games, there's always a danger that you can overload players and give them too much. So the training this week's been near on perfect, what you'd want, and obviously with players coming back, I think it's been a really, really good week for us. So we'll arrive into Sunday one more day to go with a real good mindset.
In terms of this particular fixture, Brendan, you 2 to go in the league and the potential for a third one, the Scottish Cup final, kind of the whole season. And it's quite unusual because often it's spread out, there are big games, points are decided elsewhere. This season in particular seems to be boiling down to 2, potentially 3 games. Do you take a level of comfort and confidence, given your track record in this derby and the results that you've got behind you going into this?
Well, I always feel really comfortable coming into these games, but that's only on the back of the preparation and the clarity that we want to give to the players, and also because of how we play. I think I've always been confident in that way, and like I said, we've come into lots of these big games and performed very, very well. And it's not been perfect, but we've performed well in a lot of those games. So yeah, I think I was here one of the times. I think we might have played 6 times in one season, Celtic and Rangers. So this little spell of games should be really exciting. But like I said, it's a great opportunity for us to finish the season strong.
But from a managerial aspect and the experience that you've managed to accrue over the years with how many derbies you've got under your belt, you're going in against a guy that's had one experience of it. Is that advantageous from manager's perspective, because this fixture is unique?
Yeah, no, I don't think it is. I think that Philippe, he's an experienced manager. You know, he's been around. He'll have been involved in some big games himself, and as I said, he's got a lot of games under his belt himself. So there's only a joy in managing this game. It's amazing to be involved in. He's had his first taste of it. Now he'll get a taste of it at Ibrox. So, but yeah, it's definitely a unique game, and but still, it boils down to how you perform on the field.
In terms of Callum, Brendan, I assume he's itching to play. Is there an element that you might have to protect him and just hold him back slightly if it's not 100%?
Well, I think it's just a logical conversation just to have, because like I said, we don't want to. It's not like it's a cup final and it's the last game of the season. You know, we still have really important games after Sunday. That's a very important game, and it's the next game, but we will have important games after that. So it's just about getting him through. He's clearly a player that's always played, and he's played and performed in big games. But yeah, these types of games you always want to play in as a player, or you want to be involved in as a player and a coach and a manager. But we also have to use common sense with it as well.
If he does make it, you'll have the spine of the team, and you've not had that very often this season. All the guys available. How significant could that be?
Well, it's very important for us. That's been the challenge this season, not having that security through the team. But it's been great to see Rio coming back. You know, seeing his level in training and seeing what we've missed. You know, that how he plays, progresses the game so well, how he can shorten the game, how he can open up his range, his attacking mindset, that level we've missed for a lot of the season. So it's great that he's back. Like you say, what Callum gives the team, Cameron Carter-Vickers, the balance that he then gives the others. So yeah, it's just great to have the availability, and then you're then looking to choose the right structure from there.
Does the fact that Wales only got 64, 65 minutes under his belt, do you need to weigh that into the sort of reasoning when you think about, can we bring back Callum McGregor and Rio Hatate, 2 players that have been out for a length of time, into the same midfield? So does that factor into the... Yeah,
it's one of the things, Keith, you have to think about, because these games, they're not only technical games, but they're physical games. And always the midfield 3, it's not just about one player, it's about the whole 3, the dynamic of how they all work together and how they function. So that's definitely something we have to consider, yeah.
Do you take more comfort though that you've got more options in that area now than maybe you had previously? The guys like, Tomoki have come in and done really well, and Paulo Bernardo as well.
Yeah, I think that's been the upside to having some of the players out, that some of the guys who maybe haven't played so much over their time here have had the opportunity to come in and play. So then you get a real chance to see them over a period of games. and the likes of Tomo, like you say, he's done very, very well since he's been in. So that has meant that arguably you could say that base then is wider and stronger now because of the opportunities for them to play.
And all your Japanese players fit and available at the same time, is that a kind of bonus, like Tomoki and Rio, the kind of relationship and understanding they've got in the pitch?
It doesn't matter what nationality they are. I think it's just just having them available is a huge lift. And obviously when you're a coach and looking to piece together the team and the structure, just to have the options is what's important.
You've spoken before about Kyogo, how well he links up with Daisen, and you've got the pair of them together. Also, Kyogo been tremendous in this fixture.
Yeah. No, in the last few weeks he's looked more like what I probably expected when I came in. His movement, the speed of his movement, the sharpness, he's been very, very good since he's come back into the team. That's what I expect. You know, that brightness, that cleverness, the intensity in the press and intensity in the movement. And when he plays to that level, he's very, very difficult to contain. So, but yeah, having the likes of Rio back and available really helps his game because he makes the runs early. He sees the space so early, Kyogo, and if you see the gap, you have to play it. And what happens with front players in particular like him, if you're not playing the passes or you're being safe on the passes, they stop making the runs, and it's only natural because, okay, you have to make 5-6 runs before you maybe get the ball, but if it's not coming, either because you don't see it, you might not be able to execute it, then that's a challenge for a front player. So the type of game we play is about speed, about movement, for our sides, for the central penetration, and having someone like Rio Hatate back along with the other guys. But him in particular, his first look is forward, and that benefits us immensely.
In terms of that midfield three, when you're discussing or trying to figure out which three to go with or whatnot, how much is it about implementing your own game plan, and how much of it in your mind does it go to reacting or sort of combating what Rangers could do on the day?
Yeah, no, it's always about us. You know, it always goes back to us what works for us. Of course, you always have to respect the opponent, and I do that whether it's Rangers, whether it's Livingston, whatever team we play. But the process will always come back to us and how we play and how we want to work. But then also having the changes to make within the game, which is the side I really enjoy.
Brendan, there's a couple of schools of thought going into this game in terms of what would be a good result for both sides. There's a school of thought that says, you know, it's must win for both sides. There's another one which says it's no disaster at all for Celtic to go and just not lose it, because you could then get yourselves into a very strong position going into the final stretch after the split. Do you see you got a foot in both camps there, or are you, it's a win or not? You know, that's...
Yeah, I haven't overthought it, really. I just, you know, every coach will probably tell you, and I can only tell you how I feel, but I always prepare the team to win. You know, I never think of drawing or losing a game. I always prepare the team to go and win the game, and that has always served me well, and especially in these types of games. So you can't win them all, of course, but the mindset is to go and impose our way in the game, and then let's see where we're at the end of that.